Now loading.
Awais, how's it going, man?
Man, it's been going good, man. Early mornings for me.
Early
You know what I mean?
mornings.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's crazy
yeah.
how we even connected. At the
Oh,
Foster and Partners
yeah.
open office.
We just kind of
Yeah,
randomly met, isn't it? It's just like you
right.
and me were saying the
Randomly,
same thing, and then it was just like
randomly.
from there we built on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of
What?
those things.
Yeah. What did you think of the whole concept of them opening their office to the general public?
I'll be honest with you, this was like one of the first times where I've seen a studio do this. Because I've worked with smaller studios prior to this, right? And they are more focused on like developing ideas and concepts and designs, the whole gist of basically creating a project. They
Yeah.
don't really have time to showcase like a whole plethora of work just like that, especially to students, because that was mainly targeted for like students and like other people that want to venture into that side of things. So it was kind of cool, I'll be honest with you. It's like, yeah, they're actually putting commitment into something that a lot of people, a lot of firms don't actually do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you able to turn like your light on?
Light on,
Do you have a
yeah.
light
Give
or
me.
a
I
lamp?
think I can bring this one. Yeah, it's just so dark in this room. I don't know why. I think it's my camera. It's horrible. Give me 1 second. Let's bring this over here. Okay. Oh, is that better?
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. That's
There you go.
perfect. Yeah, I thought it was fascinating too. I
Mm.
thought it was fascinating too, opening it up to the general public,
Yeah.
allowing people to see like projects that they're working on.
Mm.
I saw a lot of like really creative stuff as well, like
Mm.
just drawings and animations and mood boards,
Yeah,
things of that
especially on
nature. I
the
was like, whoa,
yeah,
okay, I like this.
especially in the notebooks as well. If you look at the notebooks, I took some pictures of this. But the notebooks had storyboarding on it.
Was
So
that the desk at the
yeah,
front
yeah,
desk, right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It looked like it was straight out of Spider-Verse if you've watched that. It was
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah, yeah.
completely a comic panel just ripped off, and then it was a space. Like, I'll be honest with you, architectural designs that are conceptual, 90% of them they're never created. There's so many
Okay.
designs out there, like from Le Corbusier, from Frank Lloyd, where there's designs where, for example, there was a design in France where they're trying to make tower blocks and they're trying to
Okay.
grid the whole structure. This was
Yeah.
after World War II, I think, I presume, and it was like the designs were supposed to like basically make Paris into a grid. So
Okay.
imagine like huge skyscraper tower blocks, and they're just basically putting grids and there's small parks allocated in between them. So literally like that, and then there's a park there like that. So it's funny because when we looked at those designs,
Yeah.
it's so out of pocket. Like you have a futuristic Sony advertisement and then a
Yeah.
flying train, but it's only just to visualize the idea. Do you know what I mean? It's pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was talking to someone. I was talking to someone that works at Foster and Partners.
Yeah.
I think his role was more like 3D, had something to do with like 3D modeling and
Yeah.
design and animation, I think. But he was talking about how they'll design the, I guess, the scenario of the building,
Mm.
and they'll visualize the experience of it first.
Mm.
And then they'll start to think about, okay, structurally, how do we build a structure around it? So it's like they build the experience first,
Yeah.
and then they think about the how things are structured, which I thought was interesting. You know, it's the
Yeah.
whole like um house versus a home mindset.
Mm.
Which I thought was kind of interesting.
I think that's actually something I'm actually trying to focus on right now, house versus home, because I think a lot of people, I mean, it's very clear, in case a lot of people don't know, a house and a home is based, this difference between it is emotion.
Mm.
And a house is not a home when there's no one there. Because essentially, how do I put this into place? Even in London, there's a lot of like estates, council estates that are just borderline like unfit to even like live upon. But for some, it's a home because of the residential stay in it and how many families like have moved in and moved out. And
Right.
essentially, I really like how you pointed out house as a home because in architecture, it's really hard. Like for example, in other medias, right? Since this is a conversation that will dwell into that. In
Right.
other medias, it's very it's very easy for them to merge that home inside. As in, like for example, with music, you can resonate with it.
Right.
A lot of songs that I resonate with, especially, is I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you remember this live performance in 2011 Kanye did for Runaway, where
The
it was. I think it was the. Let me search up. I think it was
the
essentially
the
this was
movie or the show?
no the song, you know, Runaway, and then he did
Yeah.
the live performance for it, like when
Yeah.
he was first showing it, and it was
Oh,
like
was it the VMAs?
yeah yeah yeah
Yeah,
yeah
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
And I
2010
remember
VMAs. Yeah.
exactly yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like for me, it was like that was one of like where you know when because a lot of times a lot of people resonate with physical objects. It's natural. So and like with architecture, it's mostly physical. Do you know what I mean? Like
Okay.
obviously some designs are now being based virtually, and then there's
Yeah.
other designs that like they aren't created, but they're there to showcase as art. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But it's really interesting because it's very hard to differentiate architecture what is a home and what is a house. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That usually is resonated by the person staying there.
You're
But if an
right.
architect can make that and an architect can state that, then that's what differentiates a building from what architecture really is, in my opinion,
Right.
at the very least.
Right. Right. So there's so many. So that's why I feel like it's important for architects to communicate with other industries because I guess it's the other industries that can also help turn that house into a home with all of the
Exactly.
different items that would be placed in the home and how the people use those items within the home, right?
Yeah, exactly. Especially with musicians. But even artists like painters, poets, there's ways you can learn different art forms and implement in your own without, you know, just taking the whole thing. For example, with me in architecture, like I said, with the delays in the morning,
Yeah.
it was me doing rendering and then sketching up the drawings and then also looking at the theories of it. I had to talk to one of my friends who's an engineer to actually kind of, you know, will this work?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
sometimes we go crazy. Like there's so many designs, like even now that have been made that are just like, it would be impossible at one point. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like you have to go into a different genre. You have to go to a
Right.
different field, see how they study and work things, take their methods of approaching things, and you have to put in your own. Because being honest, it's like it's a mind over ego thing, right? Where you have to like let go of what you've already learned, or actually learn more than what you already learned, and you go into a different field. And like I said, with music, it's like one of those things that I really feel like resonates with architecture because
Right.
it's as diverse, even though I'm more diverse than architecture because of
Yeah.
the history and timeline and lineage, and it's just it's very easy to take the methods of how they study and implement in your own. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Um yeah, there's an architect
Hmm.
called Warner Stanley School.
What's
So
it called?
there's an architect called Warner Stanley School.
Yeah,
I think that's how you pronounce her name. But
hmm.
she worked at OMA,
Yeah.
and then she also started her own architectural firm called Family New York.
Okay.
It doesn't exist anymore, but it was like really prominent during the 2010s, and
Yeah.
they worked with Kanye um,
Okay.
on. So they worked with him on the Yeezus tour.
Yeah.
So you know the stage design of the Yeezus tour
Oh.
with the mountain slash volcano. So
Seriously?
they designed, yeah, they
That's,
designed that.
yeah.
But she was saying that
Hmm.
working with Kanye,
Hmm.
um, he made her seem more like a architect because he was open to like ideas that she had.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and she was saying that she learned a lot from how he operates in music because there's a lot of people that are collaborating at the table.
Hmm.
And she said with architecture is not so much that direct with
Hmm.
like ideas that are being, I guess, exchanged.
Hmm.
But her whole thing was like, okay, how can I connect architecture with pop culture? That was her, like
Yeah.
that was her main thing that she did. So like the stuff she did with Kanye,
Hmm.
and then the stuff she did with Virgil as well because they
Yeah.
did. So it was her and um, her and Dong Ping
Yeah.
Wang, another architect that they
Okay.
had. Um, so they ran Family New York, and
Okay.
they also worked with Virgil as well on the off white stores
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they were saying that they learned a lot from Virgil as well in terms of like how he's able to take inspiration from other industries and apply it to whatever he's doing.
I
So they
think
learn a
with
lot from him from that too.
I think
So
Virgil is like
that's
a
kind of
leader.
adding to what you're saying
Yeah.
about as an
Yeah.
architect, you kind of have to step out of the architectural world, tap into
Yeah.
other industries, and try and apply certain principles to whatever you're doing.
Of
I
course.
guess, and that I
And
guess that
then
makes whatever you're doing a lot more digestible to the everyday person as well,
yeah.
because they can identify with the other areas that you've stepped into that
Yeah.
they're probably interested in.
I think with architecture, it's the main. Okay, one thing we study in architecture school is communicating our designs and our language. It's basically a language. For
Right.
example, in a way, it's we have to convince you, as in the clients, to accept the design. And the thing with working with, I mean, I pray one day I'll work with Kanye, right? But apparently, like, that'll be a dream come true, right? But
Yeah.
with working with people like Kanye and like rest in peace, Virgil Abloh, right?
Rest in
It's one.
peace.
It was one of those things where it's like you can. With Virgil Abloh, I take massive influence from him because he's essentially taken what a lot of people really say is taking like just making an idea and making it your own, and he made it into the 97 and 3 rule, which is
Yeah.
like which even in architecture today they don't mention it as a 97 and 3 rule, but they say it. They say everything that you think is original has already been done, so you have to make it in a tiny bit your way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which with me, it's like before I studied architecture school, I always thought you have to always make something new, design something new, which I still think you should do. I feel like originality is lost now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with Virgil and Kanye, one thing I realized is that, especially with Kanye, because one of my favorite, okay, underrated opinion, but
Go.
my favorite track for no, my favorite album from Kanye is Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
if
I,
it,
s- I,
it was
I,
at
I
yeah.
I understand that.
For
I
me, it was
understand
at
that.
the time where you know how you said home versus house.
Yeah.
For me, that was my home. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Me listening to, I was a kid, me listening to Ghost Town, Violent Crimes, the
Yeah.
Thought
No
Kid record,
mistakes.
No Mistakes.
Yeah.
I don't feel
Yeah.
like she's mad enough. You know what I
Yeah. Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Wouldn't
when
leave.
I,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just something about. So my favorite architect is Tadao Ando, right? A
Okay.
Japanese architect who's really famous for his
Mm.
work called the Church of Light, right?
Mm.
And the reason why I love him is because at the end of the day, he makes architecture into art, in my opinion. because he takes, for example, biggest example I give, you can't see me with this light being
Mm-hmm.
dimmer and dimmer and dimmer, and he works
Mm-hmm.
with this. He
Mm.
works with this form of light, creating these gaps of shadows, and it seems as if he's painting with natural light. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
like Bob Ross. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's just
Yeah. Yeah.
these little gaps in buildings. If you ever have time, I recommend you look at his work for the Church of
Yeah.
Light. But essentially, the cross, the cross, is cut into the building, wedged, and the natural form of light is facing this way, like facing towards me, and it creates this symbolic religious take on something that is so simple. To be honest, it's like origami. You just cut it out from the middle, and light just came through.
Yeah.
But the way that is structured with the materiality and everything, it's one of those where now this is gonna be so off topic, but it's like if I put this album, yay, with this project is that's home for me. Do you know what I
Right.
mean?
Okay. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
because this is where architecture and music for me especially because I've lived both worlds. I did music for I've been doing music since I was a kid, since
Okay.
primary, where I was like my whole pendant on my necklace is a guitar. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
for me it's like I when I moved into architecture, it was moving into a new house and then creating it as a home
Right.
because I
Yeah.
was already used to music. And then I tried when I started blending these two things together. Like I said, with Ye being like my old home, because I resonated with that a lot as a kid, growing up and seeing this Kanye who's so controversial, like who people say, oh, he's out you know what I mean? He's out of the
Yeah.
plot.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
criticizing him daily, and then having these raw emotions come in, and then having Tadao Ando, an architect, who probably never even spoken a day in his life to an interviewer more than like 4 or 5 words, communicating such a beautiful religious structure through just basic lighting. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
going on, but it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Do you
such a
know? I
beautiful
think
way
they
of
might have worked
imagining it.
together. You know.
I think let me check. If
I think
I
he
feel
might
like
have designed a house for Kanye. I think something.
and,
There was some collaboration that they've done. I think.
yeah, it was the rapper purchased a concrete beach house in Malibu designed by Tadao Ando.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's so funny because one thing with Kanye is that he's always raw with his music, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the most rawest material that we are told not to ever use because it's environmentally hazard is concrete.
Mm. And that's
Kind of
what.
poetic. What Kanye bought at a beach
Ah.
house. It's at a beach. You
Okay.
know what I mean?
So
Kind of
is
poetic, if you ask
concrete
me.
is concrete like the Jesus of materials for architects?
Yeah. We are basically we are told never to. We are told to use it at the bare minimum to like,
Okay.
just keep low, like stay away, like because
Yeah.
environmentally, the production of it doesn't cost a lot, but it's the wastage of it.
Okay.
And then also like having bulks of concrete, it can affect a lot of temperature changes and everything. So with Kanye buying this, it's kind of funny because it's so poetic because it's such a Kanye thing to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a concrete house at a beach in Malibu, like. But it's very interesting because, like, I think it's one of those where with Tadao Ando and Kanye, sometimes I feel like those are the two closest. I think that just merge for me, not because of how they are as people, but the way their art is. It just blends sometimes. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. That's
Mm,
great. That's one thing about Kanye I found interesting was just how
mm,
many architects he's collaborated with as well,
mm.
and how much they say that okay, they've learned a lot from him as well. He's learned from them, of course, but
Yep,
how much they've been able to just exchange ideas from the different worlds that they exist in.
yep. And then
I always thought that was interesting.
I think uh, even if we project from Kanye a little bit, Travis Scott,
Yes.
his stage designs are actually probably one of the most. It sounds crazy because knowing Travis Scott, he's very chaotic, but his stage designs is actually one of the most like geometric, like grid designs you've probably seen in a while.
Yeah.
Because there's such a hordes of crowds, but if you look at one of his stage designs, it's actually just a cross here with two riots, what do you call it? Those two groups that just make circular motions, so they have a mosh pit,
Yeah.
and two of them here. And it's one of those where it's like a lot of music, it's organized, and architecture, it's organized chaos.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
It's
even,
built to
yeah,
embrace the chaotic energy that us as people we can create, I guess.
yeah. I mean, if you want to know a chaotic architect, I think he's the. I mean, if you want to call him the Kanye of
Architecture.
architecture, Le Corbusier.
Okay.
He is the more. He was probably he's like, if you want to, like, if whatever image you probably have Kanye in your head, but for me it's like the chaotic TMZ he hated Kanye for him. For me is Le Corbusier, because Le Corbusier did a lot of the most controversial things you could imagine. I won't mention a lot because there's a lot to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one thing I will say is that you see that design I was talking about in Paris, the one with the grid structures
Yeah.
and creating these tower blocks after World War II. Yeah, he made that.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
he was the
Okay.
one who proposed it, and he was ready to destroy the historic landmark, as in like
Yeah.
flatten it completely. Like
Yeah.
anything, like he says, we shouldn't keep the remnants of our past, which I disagree with. I feel like you should keep certain structures like the Colosseum or in London. They used to have a place called, used to be like 1800s. They had a place called Crystal Palace, which was exhibition space, which was the biggest at its time.
Hmm.
But if they still kept that, it would have been beautiful. But it burnt down sadly in I think 1950s or
Okay.
1928, around there. So it was one of those things where it's like with Leo Corbusier, he was the wild card of architecture. He was one of those where he was not only controversial in the way he made his designs, right? But he was controversial in the way he was as a person, the way he would communicate his ideas, and you know the whole misunderstood trope.
Yeah.
It was basically what Le Corbusier was. I mean, you can search like him and his ex-wife having beef every day for no reason, and then next minute he creates one of the most beautiful structures known to man. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like one of his structures, oh yeah, if you want to know what the plan I'm talking about in Paris that wasn't made, it was called Villa Reduce. I think Villa Reduce. I can't pronounce this. I'm horrible with French.
Okay.
Um,
Send
but
me
it
the
was,
link
yeah,
after
uh,
this.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's one of those where it just tried to modernize in a concrete fashion. Like I said, the material that we shouldn't be using,
Yeah.
he was going to make Paris entirely that. But yeah,
So
I
essentially,
yeah,
yeah. So essentially, he's like a disruptor, right? He wants
yeah,
to always reinvent himself and his work, and he doesn't want to repeat
yeah,
what he's done before.
exactly.
That's Kanye,
Yeah.
essentially, right? Kanye's
Yeah, and
always tries to reinvent himself with each album.
if you want to look
He doesn't try to
yeah,
repeat what he's done before.
yeah.
So yeah, I can see that comparison.
What's a project to you that? Sorry if I'm asking you this question,
Hmm.
but what's a project to you from Kanye that is like his? Besides graduation,
Yeah,
besides the graduation trilogy,
yeah,
past this when he was 808, when he was going to
yeah.
808s, when he was in this, what was something from Kanye then where it was like, okay, this is what Kanye is to me, like after the whole, his rise
So post graduation, you mean, right?
post graduation, yeah,
Um, I you know what? It's either Dark Fantasy
hmm.
or Life of Pablo.
I'm gonna give you a project. that I'll send this to you after,
Yeah.
but I'll explain it because the reason why I asked you this is there's a project. You know how I talked about how Le Corbusier wanted to make a whole city.
Yeah.
Now in India, he made a city
Okay.
called, called Chandigarh, right? Which at the time, like a lot of people didn't know why it was needed, and then again, concrete. Once more, the thing we're not meant to use, but I think later when it got down the line, right, where they started looking at why this was made and why this design is there. The reason why I asked you is because you
Hmm.
know my beautiful dark, this
My
is
beautiful
twisted
dark twisted
fantasy.
fantasy. Yeah. Hmm.
Sorry, I always fumble with the words.
It's a
Do you
tongue
remember?
twister. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know when it came out, the criticism
Yeah.
for it. I don't know if you remember the criticism when it first came out, where people just didn't understood. Like, I think one of the criticism that was given was by Anthony Fantano.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
but he
he's
always
always he's
dislikes everything. Well,
yeah.
most things, right? For shock value.
Most things, of course. And then
Yeah.
the thing with this, right? The because of a lot of like the this side, later down the line, you kind of realize how beautiful um, the album was, especially when you start looking into. I think for me, obviously, everyone knows the song "Runaway," right?
Hmm.
The reason why I mentioned "Runaway" in the beginning is because this city is basically the runaway of his project. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it was established in India, and it was one of those where it was like it's it's its own space. Now, when I say its own space, you have the Shard and you have um, the Gherkin and all this in London where they're their own space, but with this, it's completely out of pocket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's somewhere where you've never seen it before, recreating something in a place that's never had it before, especially in India, where at the time it was underdeveloped in certain areas. So having this development being taken there and taking around like 5,000, 6,000 acres of land and just creating this huge project, right? I feel like I feel like that's basically what Kanye would essentially do if he was an architect. He would essentially create. For example, one thing I really loved was his recent concert. I think he did in South Korea. Was it?
Yeah.
Where it
He
was
did
just
one
a
in
oh,
China and South Korea. One. Yeah.
China. Yeah.
Those. Yeah.
It was an open stage, and he was just in the middle of it,
Yeah.
completely deserted, just him. And for me, I feel like that's the grandeur of design when it comes to architecture. That's the bare bones architecture is to originality.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what Chandigarh essentially did. It was a project that was created to bring upon this brand new design, this brand new way of looking onto things. And it was done at a time where it was very controversial, but it was done. Do you know what I mean? And
Right.
now
Yeah.
when you look back at it, it's like I said, the runaway of
Yeah.
architecture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Those types of individuals are important because they may not always be appreciated for things that they do in that moment, but
Hmm.
down the line, it becomes appreciated.
Of course, yeah. And then I think with that being said, it's crazy because when we talk about Kanye and him, his, I think a lot of times the people that are like artists, right? When they speak, when they give out, and especially in architecture, there's so many architects that are underknown by like they're just not known at all, but they have one of the biggest buildings like in the world. Do you know what I
Wow.
mean? Like they won't like you. I think with architecture, you if you want fame, you came to the wrong field. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
With music, it's different, obviously, but that's because you have an image, right? Your
Right.
image,
Yeah. Yeah.
your music, and your work. A lot of people say music. You should divide the music from the person from the music. But in architecture, they like if I created something and I stood next to it, and it was like 20, 30, 40, 100 meters towards whatever, I think they'll be more focused on that than me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But when you look at it, you look at the person who's creating it, it's actually their personality in a form of a building. You know what I mean?
Ooh. So
Yeah,
like whatever they've created, whatever they've built and designed, it's a reflection of them essentially.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
That's
But
basically
I don't think the everyday person will look at it that way, right? They'll automatically
no,
separate the two. Like you've created this, but I'm not making that connection with you on a personal
no,
level.
because if you look back at it, especially like I said in architecture school, we create so much, but you wouldn't be able to tell if who's created who because it's something that it resonates. Like I said, home versus house thing. Let's say something that just resonates with you, but not to to other people. So they wouldn't know that. Oh yeah, this is a reflection of me. Do you know what I mean? A lot of
Yeah.
architects back then, a lot of their work was just a reflection of them. And I'm not talking about the bare minimum like loft extensions and housings or like estates. I'm talking about like these galleries, museums, these huge exhibition spaces that were created. Another architect to mention is Paxton, right? So Paxton created these botanic gardens with huge glass structures, and he's not even an architect actually. He
Okay.
just loves. A lot of architects back then were not even qualified architects.
Well,
Yeah,
they were just like
they were just artists.
explorers.
They were literally just like Michelangelo. He's not an architect.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But
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 he
that's
is
the
an
thing.
artist.
Like, do you need? Oh, of course you need to be qualified to be an architect, but do you really? Okay. Do you
I say
really
it's
need to? You obviously you need to, but
hmm,
some people are so curious
hmm,
that they can kind of bypass, I guess, the qualification, right? In certain instances, and create
yeah.
things that are in the same space, right?
Yeah, I mean, with the architects, right? It's we have been surviving for a very long time, and I mean surviving, not thriving, surviving, right? Because essentially back then anyone could be an architect. Like around 1853 and before, there's laws for architecture. To be called an architect is like being called a doctor. You can't
Okay.
call yourself that unless you do the 7 8 years. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But the thing with architecture is that a lot of architects, when they do finish their course, they don't do architecture. They actually just do design.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They do a lot of They move on to other fields. And the thing with architecture is that, like I said back then, you don't need to be qualified to be an architect.
Okay.
Paxton certainly wasn't one of them.
Yeah.
Uh, to show you proof that Paxton wasn't one of them, he made the building and then 7 years later it burnt down because of one fire.
Yeah.
And the theory was that the fire was caught by a cigarette. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, so what was I saying? Yeah. So Paxton's design for the Botanic Gardens and the Crystal Palace, basically it just burnt down. All right. And so you know how you were saying like anyone could become an architect, right? With that, there is truth and false in it. Yeah. Yes, anyone can become an architect back then, but now we have so many commitments. Like, you know, the Grenfell situation.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we're blamed for it. We take the full blame. Yeah, I mean the government didn't take any blame at all. Do you know what I mean? And even when they did make their apologies, it was a sorry excuse. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah, yeah.
so when it comes to like the RIBA and like the ARB, where it's like we take this responsibility. Like we, as in not just the architects that made it, but the students that are learning architecture right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it because when that happened, people started to analyze the building and the materials and how I guess they looked at stuff like the fire rate and
Hmm.
different aspects like that, right?
Yeah, and it was because y- knowledge, information now is very public. Do you know what I mean? You can't hide how a building's made in the UK. You can't actually hide a building how a building's made at all. If you want to search up building regulations right now, you'll get the same amount of information as I do. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
There's parts in it like part M, part A, B, C, D. Like this, there's a lot of parts like that make a building, right? And then you have to follow those regulations. But it's like with Grenfell, especially, right? It was clearly a showcase of what poor budgeting, poor design, poor fire evacuation hazards. They weren't there. Like it was everything was done fast and quick, but it wasn't there for the safety of the people living there. That's another situation in the house versus home, where it's like for them they turn entry as homes to other people. It was just a house, just put them in there, and nothing will happen one day, and you see how it happens now.
Yeah. It's crazy how I guess you're saying more so the government, right? Looked at it just like a house.
And I feel like even the architects, we have to take responsibility. But
Oh, okay.
with the government, we as architects, we raised our hand up. You know what I mean? We're still tackling this situation till now. Maybe not so with Grenfell, because we know what we did wrong with Grenfell. Like I think a lot of people knows what was wrong with Grenfell, with the insulation, the thickness of the walls,
Yeah.
how the building itself wasn't fire regulated properly at all.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? You can see it was on fire regulated, but the way it was, like if you search up old images of Grenfell Tower, let me just tell you what I mean. Because uh, so when you search up old pictures of like Grenfell Tower, right, and you look at it's like north, west, south, and east, right, you can see the east side from the right is just burning down, like proper all the way to down the pillar. Whereas if you look at north and south, right, you can see that the fire there wasn't catched as well. And it's not because it was made differently on one side or the other side. It's because of the way the location is and how big that building is. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And and like I said, it's one of those things. It's like with Grenfell, it could have been avoided so easily.
Yeah. Can you send me those pictures?
Yeah, yeah. I'll
I'm gonna
send
I'll
it.
edit it in.
Yeah, I'll send it out to you right now on this. But
Yeah.
yeah, but it's one of those things. It's like with these towers, right? Um, I even send you the time. There's a boom, 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 and then boom. Yeah. So like this one here, especially over here, right? It tells you it. It literally tells you the time, how like where it's how it's burning, how long it's been burning, right?
Hmm.
And as much as you can blame, like, oh yeah, the show, where was the fire evacuation team? Where the fire squad was? Where how you gonna like take the fire out? You really have to actually just blame the budgeting and the people who designed it. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those projects that
Yeah.
should have never been made with the amount of like, mind my language, but crappy material.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
But
especially, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it was,
I was gonna say it's crazy how I guess the government and the architects looked at that as a house,
yeah.
but the people that lived there made it a home.
Yeah, and
So
there's a
it's
lot of
like two
people that just
different.
got, yeah, I mean, just got kicked out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
It's like two different perspectives,
Hmm.
but yeah, from a different angle.
I mean, if you were to look at Newham as well, um, there's a article of how London dumps its council housing tenants on the unsuspected home kind. So basically, another way of saying that Newham is accused of dumping homeless families because of the whole
Okay.
project that was created in 2012 of revamping Stratford and
Okay.
hosting
Yeah.
and adding new housing there as well. Yeah, gentrification basically,
Basically.
and
Basically.
and essentially there's a lot of families right now that just don't have even now that just don't have homes because they were promised, they were, oh yeah, we're going to change this into this, but they never told the pricing of it, and the pricing is ridiculous compared to how much it was before, and then now they can't afford it, and that's their issue. You know what I mean? There's no one helping them out for it, and then
Yeah.
and that's not even just to do with architecture, but that's politics as well. Like you can look at it as like you can look at it as London's never been great at like creating architecture for its people. It's been always great at creating architecture for tourists.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think the governments, in my opinion, ever made architecture well recently, well in recent decade or so,
Yeah.
where it's been great for its people. Do you know what I mean? It's been more so great for people coming outside from London, coming to see this glass city with like the only like Barbican concrete style like place. There's only one place, and it's called the Barbican with that, but everything else is full of glass.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know what I mean? It's just you get tourists coming in, and that's their main revenue and money, but they forget that the people that call this place their home, they're just not taken care of.
Yeah.
And it sounds so
They're kind
random
of
saying,
just used.
yeah,
They kind of just used as a platform for everyone else that they're attracting.
yeah. And that's like the same thing with what you call it, with even because like I said, this is like a compare. I'm doing a little comparison study right now, but it's like if you look at the same way how architecture is being treated in UK, especially now with music as well. It's one of those things. It's like a lot of music production that's happening now is factory settings. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You would the production level is always premium and high that's being pushed out. It's not like it's good. It's good. You know what I mean? Like fair enough, but the raw music that I used to probably listen to when I especially listened to was back in like 2015, where some guy would be in the studio and he probably messed up like 3 FL studio beats, but he created one of like for his fourth one was probably one of the most beautiful things. I mean, what I would say, it's funny enough, but I would say it's like, especially with how how UK treats its buildings and architecture as a home versus house. It's the same thing with music, with where you call it like raw music and production music. You know what I mean? Raw music at the end of the day has so much longevity. Do you know what I mean? But production music stays there for an hour. It's like 15 seconds of fame.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with these types of housings and gentrification being created, where it's more for tourists that are just staying there for 1 day, 2 days, whereas ignoring its people who's been staying here for 15, 20, 30 years, and then just labeling
make up what that area or that city is.
Yeah. Because
so if you wanna, okay, so you're saying that there's architects that make microwave I guess buildings or spaces, right? And then you have architects that are making more high quality buildings.
It's something that serves purpose. It's like one of those where it's like it's not a rinse and repeat idea. Like I said, microwave. It's like a really good analogy. It's like microwave architecture. Like you just heat it up in like a microwave. You just give it out. Whereas there's another guy who's making a 5-star cuisine, and he's just cooking the most beautiful structures, right? And it's not even getting the funding for it because it's easier to like create like these rigid block structures that cost ridiculous amount of money. Like it is high money. Like how do I say this? It's like millions and millions, and the rent's like in 3K, 4K. Like it's Chicago level type rent in London. You know what I mean? Like if there's like $3,000 here, it's going to be like £3,000 here. Like none of that whole like ratioing it. No, it's just blunt. You know what I mean? It's going to be more expensive here, and a lot of people can't afford that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. That's a crazy analogy and situation.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to Travis
Yeah.
because I remember when he did. I think it was around the time he did the Maximus. He did the tour in Italy.
Okay. Yeah.
I think last year. Then he came out and said, "I want to study architecture at Harvard." Do you remember that?
I was like, wait, he's taking my job.
Yeah, he said he wants to study architecture, but he was serious. I think
Yeah.
he told GQ.
Yeah. Tell me.
Yeah, so this was an interview he did in 2023
Yeah.
with GQ. So he's like, I've always been into design and structural engineering.
Hmm.
I'm always trying to be an ultimate problem solver. A lot of things intrigue me, like doing rehearsals right now, and I'm always asking questions, even just structural and staging and how it can be built. So my interpretation of this, right, is like this is pretty game changing in the sense that
Hmm.
he wants to become an architect to elevate his concerts.
Hmm.
So he can better understand like the stadiums that he's performing in. He can
Hmm.
understand, I guess, the structural aspect of it. He can kind of put himself in the shoes of his fans that are maybe be on they might be standing or they
Hmm.
might be higher up, they might be in the middle. He can kind of figure out okay how he can like communicate with them in different ways.
Do you think?
I think for stadium
Hmm.
artists, I think this is like a interesting move, to be
Do you think
honest.
his stages are made by his fans sometimes? As in, if you look at
You
his,
mean like when the mosh pits with the mosh pits and stuff like that?
it's just when I look at the photos for his stages, right? Especially for his Maximus World Tour, right? There's I think it's Anham. It's the Galgadam Dome. It's if you look at the for pictures for it, right? I'll send this to you, but
Yeah. Okay.
um, it's basically like when you look at his tour, right? The amount of people he has, like in that set venue, right? Kind of makes it
Oh,
kind of like,
fans.
yeah, fans. Yeah, these fans, yeah. It kind of makes its own grid structure on its own. Do you know what I mean? Like filling out this huge space.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like if he wants to go into architecture, I feel like go for it. I think maybe just do the part one to understand that, because I think that's with part one
Oh, okay.
you understand like design and
Yeah.
concept. With part
Yeah.
two, you go part two masters. It's like if you were high as hell, and
Okay.
you were creating something that is just not even meant for this world. Like
Okay. So this
one of
is
my
like
yeah
the architect that you mentioned before that you said is like Ando.
yeah
That
yeah
is
yeah
like
like Le
doing things at
Corbusier.
home.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
but in part two architecture, which is masters, right? Right. This is where I think he would have loved this. Like he would have loved this, but it's very tedious, right? It's they create designs that are quite literally like Zelda based. Like, have you seen the new Zelda where it's like floating islands and
Okay.
stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
quite literally, in Masters Architecture, you can do that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And you have
So
to
it's like
use your
fantasy architecture. Is it
yeah,
like fantasy architecture?
fancy architecture that is trying to be based in reality, but it's more to like.
Okay.
There's a project one of my friends did. Moment, he did a project in space. He made a whole like beautiful structure, and like this space like ship was going around, and it was in Mars, I think, and it was just you know what I mean. It was very
Yeah.
coherent, but it
Okay.
could definitely not fit in like modern day Earth and like do you know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah.
And that
So it's
quote that
like
you
it's like ahead of its time.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly, and the quote that you literally just said, where he wants to see, he basically essentially wants to get. He's doing this for the art. Do you know what I mean? So he can
Yeah.
know what he's creating, and that's beautiful. I feel like that's you should have that type of love. Do you know what I mean for what you're doing,
Yeah.
right?
And if you think about it, the architects that are building these stadiums
Hmm.
are obviously outside of the athletes that are probably using those stadiums.
Hmm.
Are for artists like him that are performing in these stadiums. So
Hmm.
it makes sense for him to be curious enough to think, okay, I want to study this art form, this craft even more, in more depth, you know.
I
And
mean,
and
yeah,
stadiums and arenas are like an important piece of architecture and music. That's where fans can go and see their favorite artists live, right? So it makes
exactly,
sense. It makes
exactly.
sense.
The I don't know. Did you see? Did you see what's his name? Did you see Kendrick Lamar's tour in '02?
The Big Steppers.
Yeah,
Yeah, I went to that. I went to that. Yeah.
yeah. So do you remember that
Did
stage
you
that he
go?
had in the middle? No, I couldn't. But I remember I
Okay.
studied the whole like stage and the cube.
Okay.
He's did
The
the whole
stage that
design.
came that extended
Yeah,
that
yeah,
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 that came out.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that whole stage that was created, right, and the cube, his visual representation, his work that he wanted, especially with Baby Keem, right?
Yeah.
It was done through the helps, obviously, by architects, but the leading visionary was him. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And the thing with why I bring this back is because even with Travis, right? Because with Travis and Kendrick, this I feel like this artists that like that take the art more than just music. Do you know what I mean? Like how Le Corbusier takes his buildings more than just being a building. He creates something that's just out of pocket, but it's leading its genre. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And with
They're the
yeah,
innovators.
exactly. And like with Kanye, I don't know if you remember, he wore all red at one point. He was like a debut. It was a debut for Donda.
They've done the
Yeah,
listening parties, yeah.
yeah.
In the
Do you remember?
stadiums.
Yeah, Mercedes
I
Benz
think it was
Stadium.
Mercedes Stadium.
Yeah,
One.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, go on. Yeah.
It was all red, and it was just paying tribute to his mum, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like artists that take the music more than what it is and take it as what it could be and then what it shows. That's the same with architects like Le Corbusier, like Zaha Hadid, like Tadao Ando, Frank Lloyd Wright, Louis Kahn, Louis Sullivan, all these people, all these architects that have been leading the way for so long, but their music speaks louder than them, or their buildings, or their structures, or their designs speak louder than them. Like for me, Kanye isn't just represented by him as a person. But when I was a 15-year-old, 16 or 15, I think a 15-year-old kid actually listening to Ye for the first time and being in my testosterone were going through the roof, emotions were everywhere, and I was listening to what you call it, falling, dreaming,
Violent crimes.
yeah,
Yeah.
for the first time. And then listening to Ghost Town, and there's a lyric in Ghost Town that I actually like I resonate with a lot, and he talks about putting his hand on the stove and seeing if he can feel it.
Mm,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
And
I put my
with
hand on the stove.
yeah, to see it,
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
And it's one of those things where
And
it's like,
what is OVO what does 070 Shake say? She goes,
yeah,
it doesn't hurt anymore. I
yeah.
feel
It
kind
doesn't
of
help.
free.
I
So it's
feel
like,
kind of free.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So it's like
and
it's almost like, okay, I've put myself in outside of my comfort zone, and now I'm
mm,
comfortable with being uncomfortable.
exactly. I want to reach that stage, and I feel like with architects that I just mentioned and these musicians that we mentioned, they, I mean, I wouldn't say Travis so early because Travis is still like, I feel like Travis is one of those artists where like Kanye, like Kendrick, he's still getting there. Do you know what I mean? I don't think I genuinely don't think Astro World is his prime. I feel like yeah,
I think for now, I think he has more levels to go.
yeah,
And I thought Utopia. I think okay. The thing about Utopia, the album itself, I thought would be the elevation of Astro World. It was still good to me,
it wasn't the
but what I think,
same like that. Do you know what I
what
mean?
yeah, what I think has evolved during the Utopia era is his live performance. Like
Yeah,
he's become
yeah,
even greater as a live performer. Even though
yeah.
the album itself wasn't as great as Astro World, I think he's still become a greater like live performer. You know, I think
And
his mind has expanded. So I think the next album he puts out, I think will be it should be his dark fantasy. I thought Utopia was gonna be his dark fantasy,
I
but
think,
it's kind of like
yeah,
not there yet. I think he's got more levels to go though. He's got a lot more to do.
I think when we when they mention like the people that put their hand on the stove and feel if they're free, it's like Kanye, like Kendrick, that took these risks where a lot of time where their music isn't something we can necessarily bump in a car. Like obviously they have
Yeah.
those music they have those types of songs where money trees. I bump that hella, or with what you call it, Father Time. I love Father Time, and then
That's a good song. Yeah.
with Kanye, it's what's it? With Kanye, I can't like. I use it for I use this whole Donda album for the gym. I'll be listening to
Okay.
I'll be slapping on Hurricane while I'm on the treadmill.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like these artists that felt this and that felt this pain of like doing something new and then pushing and elevating it further. It's the same way how like architects have been written. For example, one architect I want to mention is Zaha Hadid, right? Who
Okay.
who was basically, there's a term called starchitect.
Star Architect. Okay. What does that mean?
Yeah. So a starchitect is basically the Tony Starks of architect. I didn't even make this word up. This has been here for a while actually. It's called
Okay.
so
Is it like a unicorn within architecture? Like a unicorn
yeah,
of
pitch
architecture?
perfect. Like a starchitect. Like you can search it up. A starchitect is like Stark is a prompt to used to describe architects whose celebrity and critical acclaim have transformed them into idols of architecture world, and
Okay. So
maybe
like the
may
icons.
yeah, like the MJ, like the MJs are
MJ.
like
Okay. Okay.
yeah, you know what I
The
mean.
Beatles.
Exactly. Like these architects are like there's not a lot of them as well. There's like a few, you know what I mean? Like one or two, but like one I wanted to mention was Zaha Hadid, right? Because
Okay.
she was like one of the women in architecture that led like yes like it doesn't, no offense, but it doesn't need to be old white men running the world in architecture.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It can be women, it can be younger people, it has its people anyone with a vision and hope and dream, they can do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like when I was looking into like what you call it, like I said, we're gonna bring it back to like put my hand on the stove, see if I can feel. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like
yeah. 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 Yeah.
these are the people that have done this as well. They've risked their careers trying to do like these fluidity, like um, getting past these rigid modularities and creating these fluid buildings that are like curtains that are just hanging. Like for example, like do you know the Aquatic Centre in Stratford?
Zaha Hadid
This
did
is
that,
how I
right?
did. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Because
that
I
whole
met
like yeah,
someone that worked. I met someone I think a year ago
yeah,
that worked for Zaha
yeah.
Hadid, and he told me about the correct center.
Yeah, my tutor, funny enough, is the one who helped make it. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
Okay.
so he worked with the Zahid's firm at the time, and he literally helped create that. And one thing about this is that that structure is so fluid from the top, like as in, it's obviously it's it's a physical object. It's not like something like a curtain, like where it's just gonna go like this. But the fluidity and motion that Zahid's known for is there. And as a star architect, you need to be known for like your, like I said, originality. Do you know what I mean? Like something that is you. Do you know what I mean? And that's one thing. Like if I was to call, now we're gonna jump this comparison. You know, I said like the like Le Corbusier is like the Kanye West of architecture. Then if you want to count like who's the star architect in, you know, music, in my opinion, right now is Kanye. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like when he made 808s,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, he
Because that
led that.
he led
That
it.
was
He led that.
that
And
was
that fed
big.
a generation of artists after that,
I think it's still
including
feeding
Drake's.
now. It's still feeding
Yeah,
now.
still, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
still like we're still in the 808 era. Like we're I
yeah,
think
yeah,
we're pushing it boundaries now with it. Like it's to the point now where there's 808s and jazz. Like,
yeah, yeah. Even,
like
it's just his
yeah,
approach to doing AOAs as well, like the
mm,
airiness of the production,
yeah,
minimalism. You know, yeah, the different types of colors he
yeah.
used. Definitely, yeah, definitely.
I
I
mean,
think Tyler's Ego album.
yeah, yeah.
That's like his 808s.
What for Tyler the Creator?
Tyler's, his
Yeah.
ego album.
You go, wait, Tyler. 1 second. Okay, yeah. Of course, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of like his 808s.
His 808s as well for
808s,
Tyler.
808
Yeah.
slash the love below. 808 slash the love
Okay.
below. That's kind of like, yeah.
With Tyler the Creator, it's have you know his new project that's being released?
Yeah, yeah.
By the way, I'm so
seen the
grateful
promo.
for that. So grateful for that.
Yeah.
There's finally something to do with Frank Ocean. Like that, he's
Oh,
been.
he's gonna be on the album, right?
That's what everyone's saying. That's what I'm
Okay,
praying he does.
let's see if he is, because you know how Frank is.
Bro, he's oh
He'll
man,
say he's
he's.
gonna do something and then
I've been
doesn't
waiting
do
on
it.
it. I've been waiting on him releasing. But the only thing I've been listening to is it's a song that goes see you for often, even somewhere like that. But it's a track that hasn't been released yet. I'm just rinsing it out, right?
Oh, yeah.
But sorry, just in a do as well, right? With Tyler the Creator, him especially now, he was in an interview actually. It's funny. Okay, you can quote this interview. I think, but something else. He said something to do with he doesn't like the way newer generation make their music, and one of the people that he didn't like was what's his name? He's like the next I think it's Ian. Do you know Ian?
Oh, is that the guy that people say he sounds like Future?
He sounds like he sounds like Future. He sounds like a mix of Future and Yeet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he didn't like the way. I think from what I've been hearing, and I saw an interview, he said he didn't like the way he was. It was like a subliminal. Do you know what I mean? But it was like he didn't like the way these newer artists were just like doing parodies of this of a genre. But that's the same way Tyler the Creator came up.
That is true. That is true.
You know what I mean?
Like the Tyler now, like the Tyler from like I guess Flower Bomb onwards, I guess that is like super musical and puts a lot of like there's a lot of quality, there's a lot of layers.
Production.
He wasn't that Tyler. Yeah. He wasn't that Tyler on what was his first album?
I think his first album. Because I think it was after Igo, I'll be honest. Like, it was after Igo where his production level just went.
He became a lot more musical. And he put a lot more time into like his visuals.
Because if you look at his first album, it came out all the way back. It was like his first album was called "I Smell Panties," and like as an EP in 2008. Oh, okay. and then it was, and then you can see the jump, right? So, if you go from like Flower Boy to Igor,
Yeah.
and then to Call Me If You Get Lost,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? You see like him evolving as an artist, but
Yeah.
also him criticizing himself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, another person that I wanted to mention. I don't know if you ever listened to him. You know Joji?
I don't think so.
Okay, this is actually okay. So Joji's
What
so
what
jo,
what what genre?
so he's it's kind of funny. I don't know what genre this is. It's a mixture of like everything. Like
That he's not
it's
Japanese, is he?
I think yeah, he's Japanese, Japanese Australian. Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what? Maybe I'm familiar. I can't.
Yeah,
It
he
sounds
sang a
familiar,
song.
but
He sang a song. Goes slow dancing in the dark. Yeah, when
I don't
I
know.
was
Maybe
here.
I've heard some of his
Oh,
work. But
do you know Filthy Frank? Back in like 2011,
who?
Filthy Frank. So he was a
No.
youth. So he had a persona. Like, what was his horrifying? Like, well, back then it was comedy, right? But nowadays he'll get cancelled in a second, right? But he made this whole like persona of like Filthy Frank. This in terms, Filthy Frank was this comedic degenerate. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And he went in this way, and his voice got like tired from it because he used to yell in it, right? And he made like these parodies, and then he slowly transitioned into this serious take an artist called Joji, and this was one of the first YouTubers to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Who went from what you call it, this comedy YouTube side of making shorts, like just these. Well, back then it wouldn't be shorts because it was like 2011, but like
Yeah.
doing the
Just
Harlem Shake.
short videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he went from that to making probably the most beautiful produced like songs that you can hear in a while. And I don't say that to like, gas him up and just, say that he's like, like that artist. But if you listen to Afterthought, Glimpse of Us, actually. A glimpse of us. One sad
Maybe
song.
I've heard it.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
made that.
I'll listen. I'll listen
Yeah.
to it after this.
Yeah.
Maybe
He made Glimpse of Us. That is like 900 million streams in 2024. And when I tell you like that's really big, I say big not because him as a musician, but he used to be a YouTuber. You know what I mean? The people that Tyler the Creator that I was saying was criticizing for like making parodies.
Yeah.
He was one of them, like back in 2011, 2013, 2015. But then he himself, like Tyler the Creator, just went into this production stage, making this music, working on his vocals, working on his lyrical delivery, working on basically being a poet in what he does, right?
Yeah.
And he's at a point now where it's like, you wouldn't be able to tell if he was this Filthy Frank or Pink guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You wouldn't be able to tell.
You know another person.
Who? As in like,
Jay Versace. Jay Versace.
how do you spell that?
So Jay and then Versace.
Oh, okay.
So he was huge on Vine.
Okay.
So in the Vine era,
my
he's one of the icons of Vine, right? But then in recent years he's become a producer.
I just thought he's a multi-Grammy award-winning producer.
Yeah.
What the?
But the thing is, during before he became like a producer, he was always putting people onto great music. Okay. So he was always like in tune with like the underground music or even like old songs that people may have not focused on as much. He would always bring that attention to that through his videos. So it makes sense that he became a producer because he was always tasting music.
Yeah. And do you know the last one I'll mention is J. Paul.
J. Paul. J Paul.
No, J-Paul, J-A-I-P-A-U-L, J-Paul. Most samples that Drake, Kanye, everyone uses are actually from J-Paul.
Okay, what is he an artist?
Well, he was meant to be okay. So, my friend actually put me on this person, right? But basically, he had a early demo, like he was making an album and everything, and he was doing really good. But then the album got leaked out,
Okay.
and it wasn't really detrimental, as in like it didn't stop the sale, like the sales, or like it wasn't slow. The album was called Bait Ones, but it's
Okay.
uh it's called now Leak 0413, right?
Okay.
And he was leading like he's a producer now, like he produces for like a bunch of like different other artists, but he released this album and it just got, well, he didn't release it, it got leaked, and then he released it, and it hit him as a detrimental effect, like mentally. So it kind of just
Okay.
like, just tackled him like head on, like, okay, like what can I do? And then he took a break, but as an artist he led a lot of what recent music is. As in, like, if you should check like who sampled J Paul, and it'll be like J Paul, and you'll get like a plethora of artists. Like there's
How'd you
25
spell his
songs.
name?
Jaipaul. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. For example, Beyonce sampled J Paul.
Oh, he passed away, right?
Did he? I don't think he's. I think he's no.
I
No, he's
feel
still
like I've
alive.
seen.
He's still
Oh, he's
alive.
still
He's
alive.
still,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but I
It's someone
think
else.
he just doesn't release anymore. Like he just like I don't think like he just gave up because his whole thing got leaked. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
But with him, there's a song called BTSTU, and it's sampled by both Drake and Beyonce in 2011.
Okay. What song did they sample it?
It was. Let me check that for you. Let me fact check this all for you. Yeah. So he recorded it. He put it on MySpace. MySpace was the time, wasn't it? Uh,
It
Let
was.
me just see. Let me find this. Okay, officially. Yeah, dreams, money can buy. And
Okay,
then
Drake. Okay. And what did
yeah,
Beyonce?
and then Beyonce. The track features a sample of the song "End of Time." Yeah, "End of Time" by Beyonce.
Ooh, "End of Time" is one of my favorite Beyonce
Yeah,
songs. You know.
yeah, and
So
it was
I want to.
yeah.
What exactly did she take from it?
I think she took I think she took the vocals. I think the vocals, was it? Not the vocals. I think it was the beat itself, and she just sped it up.
Okay. Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I feel like I know which part of it is. It might be. Is it like? It might be the beginning, maybe.
Let me
Because there's a part where it does get sped up.
yeah, it's let me just check it for you. Beyonce, boom, 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 boom. Wait, I hate ads. It's where is it? One sec. I need to fact check this real quick because I remember the part that I keep. Yeah. So do you see the drums and it goes like how do I show you? It's like yeah. So you see where the drums go in
Yeah.
and the very bit just
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah.
That's J
Yeah.
Paul's. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. Why did he stop?
It's with art, right? You have to also take your mental health in care, and he got his
Okay.
thing getting leaked and everything. I can understand why he would just stop, but he was one of those artists where J Paul just like he made smooth R&B, where like falsetto
Okay.
vocals and scattered beat, like the production was ahead of its time,
Okay.
and then yeah, now it's just like it's really hard to like say like if he'll ever come back or not. But if he did, he would fit perfectly in like modern day. Do you know what I mean? Like how
Yeah,
T
yeah,
Pain came back, and
yeah, yeah.
he was like his comeback was probably one of the greatest I've ever seen. I'm not gonna lie, because he made a live album like of just covers.
Oh yeah, of covering other songs, right? Other
Yeah,
classic songs, right?
yeah, and it was beautiful. It's called On Top of the Covers. It was live from the sun. It was beautiful. It was so beautiful. Like I love the whole cover album. Like it just showed because
I
T
haven't
Pain
heard it
got
yet.
kind.
Yeah,
No, I think you
I'm
should
gonna
give it a
check it
try.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because T Pain got cancelled. Well, was getting cancelled for like using autotune at the time, which
Yeah,
was
Jay Z tried to, but it didn't. Well, it didn't really. Well, he allowed it to stop him, but what
yeah,
happened was everybody else started using it even more. So
yeah.
because we got
Usher
Travis after
was
that, we got
yeah,
Future after that.
yeah.
So he really
Usher
should have just got
criticized him for it.
Usher
Like,
criticized him.
yeah.
I kind of understand where Usher's coming from because
Mm,
he's thinking, okay, I'm using my vocals.
mm.
So now T Pain is making something. Um, he's making it popular for artists to not have to use their natural vocals.
Not
So
to use as
that's
much,
gonna
yeah.
affect that's gonna take me out of business. So I kind of get where Usher's coming from. He's protecting his space.
Product. His product,
Yeah, so
essentially.
I get where he's coming from.
But with what you call
But
it,
then he used it sometimes too. Usher has used it a few times, like
I
minimally.
mean,
But he has, yeah. So
mm,
it's tricky.
I mean, with T Pain, it's he could always sing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like T Pain could always sing. He's always had that. But even like it's like if you for me, right, it's like for architecture, like you have to naturally always know how to draw. You know what I mean? Or like you're gonna learn how to draw eventually, whether it be with a pen or pencil or like through a computer. You're gonna know a form of drawing no matter what. With the
yeah,
music, with a musician, especially a singer, it's in the term singing. Do you know what I mean? So they're gonna know like the bare minimum of how to hear a chord or a song,
yeah.
and then just trying to advocate that. And like stripping T Pain away from autotune doesn't really matter because he used autotune the same way how Travis uses it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like he's
But
the
he can
pioneers
actually,
for
he can
one.
actually,
Yeah,
he can actually sing.
yeah.
That's why I say like I feel like T Pain definitely made a huge impact with
Hmm.
autotune. But the reason why I feel like Kanye was more disruptive with it is because he made it cool for rappers that can't sing to
Hmm.
use it.
Of course, yeah,
Whereas T Pain knew how to sing without it.
yeah.
So Kanye made it cool for rappers and
Hmm.
Wayne as well, and Lil Wayne as well.
Hmm.
I'll credit both of them. For
Hmm.
rappers that can't really sing, but they can use autotune. So
Yeah,
Travis is not a natural singer, he uses it.
yeah.
Future is not a natural singer, he uses
He
it.
uses it. Yeah.
So I think they paved the way for those artists
I
that
mean,
they
there's
can't sing,
that.
but
Yeah.
they're using autotune.
Yeah, there's that, and then if you look at Kanye's like live performance of, the one where he says more specifically Kimberly, and then
Oh yeah,
yeah,
oh yeah.
the raw audio on that, you can know for a fact that even though it's beautiful, to be honest,
Yeah,
we know Kanye doesn't have that vocal range that you'd see in like probably Bruno Mars or Adele, but that's
yeah,
something an art doesn't need the most beautiful vocals from its artist. It sometimes just needs raw emotion.
raw. And that's why
Yeah,
808s work so perfectly.
yeah,
Like when you listen to Pinocchio story,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
a perfect example. He's not a vocalist, but it's the rawness
yeah.
of the emotion and it's the execution of the lyrics. That's what makes it great. Like certain songs don't require amazing vocals. It just
Hmm.
needs to be executed in a certain way. And that's why That's why I prefer Rihanna's music over Beyonce music. Even though Beyonce has better vocals,
I agree.
but the way Rihanna is able to like execute
Mm.
songs in a digestible way and a simple way,
Yeah,
and her tone as well. That's why I prefer her music more.
I
But that
agree.
doesn't mean she's a better
Yeah.
vocalist than
No,
Beyonce.
but
She's not. But how she's able to execute a song in a simple way, digestible
mm,
way. You know, even look at what she did on All of the Lights.
yeah,
That's a perfect example. How she
the
executed that
vocal, the
in a
vocals on
simple way.
on the nights and the ten. Yeah, I mean, like
Yeah, you know.
it
If
works.
you want it, you can
Yeah,
get it for the.
yeah.
You know,
You see
it's
what I'm
like
saying? It just
only
works.
she
Yeah,
could really do that the way
mm,
she did it. You know,
yeah,
give the song to like an amazing vocalist, they're gonna overdo it.
mm.
Like they're gonna overpaint. They wanna paint
Exactly.
too
You
much.
can't.
They're gonna
That's
go over the lines.
a lot of things. Like I think when we're talking about music and architecture is that there's no such thing as a limit, but there's no such thing as doing nothing less or nothing more. I think when it comes to like when it comes to a painting, right? If you were for like Bob Ross, right? There's always beautiful mistakes, right? You always add like one or two little things, and it's just there, right? But when you overpaint and add something more and more and more, in a way, that's stripping away what made it, beautiful. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like I said, for me, my favorite album from Kanye is always going to be Ye because it's a 40 minute long album
yeah.
that just
Pretty short. Seven
explains
songs, right?
seven. I think it's like seven. Yeah, 7 songs. Yeah, Ye is seven songs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 40 minutes long album, and it's raw. You know what I mean? It does the purpose. It's there Kanye's reflection of his mental health, of what's going on in his life. But to be honest, I'll be honest, he kind of predicts what his life is going to be. You know what I mean? Like, it talks about him leaving, how he'll feel with that, talking about his rising as a fame, his mum passing away, like like those little subtle hints of like how his life is, or what he's talking about, and then fame, fortune, daughter. So from like for example, there's a song where he mentions where he's like they're savages, they're ruthless, they're monsters, they're pimps, they're players to
Oh
people who
yeah,
have daughters.
violent crimes. Yeah, violent
Yeah,
crimes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Where he's speaking on, where it's kind of just a letter to his daughter,
yeah,
where he's trying to like, I think this was when Kanye was going down like the religious route.
yeah. This was just before Jesus.
Yeah,
A year before.
yeah.
Yeah,
And he was just trying to explain to him like, don't you grow up in a hurry.
yeah.
Your mother be worried about the story.
Yeah,
But it's also like he's talking to himself
yeah.
in a way as well.
Or his
You know what I
his
mean?
past self, like
Yeah,
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 maybe, yeah.
yeah. Because
His
he's
present and that himself from that
no,
time
yeah.
as
So he's
well.
talking to three different people. He's talking past, present, and his daughter.
Yeah,
Because he knows the struggles of like, going through this fame, this fortune, like becoming this architect of music, essentially,
yeah,
and then feeling all that repercussion. It's a nice, like I said, I feel like with Ye especially, it does 40,
yeah,
like I said, 40 minutes long. No, I think it's less than that. It's a 20, yeah, it's like 23 minutes song, like 23, 40, 23 minutes song. Like,
yeah. It's a
it's
short album.
really short, very short album, and it just gets it done. Like 23 minutes long, gets the job done, and it has a nice replay value of it, because some music, the replay value, it just comes from its beat, or like it's catchy, right? With this, you feel down or you feel like this, you slap on this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Therapeutic.
yeah.
That's the word.
When you're feeling bittersweet,
Yeah.
this is a good thing
exactly,
to put
yeah.
on. And also
Like,
what you were saying before
mm,
at the beginning of this convo where you were like the whole house and home, well, when we were
yeah,
speaking about the whole house and home,
yeah,
this album is to me is perfect for you moved into a new place. It's
mm,
pretty empty. You haven't got that much furniture in yet. You
mm,
want to put this music on just to start building up that home feel,
mm,
just to make it feel like okay, it can fill up a home. There's certain
mm,
music that can fill up a space and make it
mm,
feel more, homey,
mm.
make you feel more like a home and make you feel more comfortable, you know.
Yeah. There's
And
a
I feel
there's
like
a
this album
quote.
has
Yeah.
songs that can do that.
100%. But there's a quote that I saw like 2 weeks ago. It was like, I actually, have you ever heard of a guy called Pondering Thoughts? He speaks on like he speaks on like literally like his own thoughts and like it's very philosophical, right?
Okay, what does he do?
But
He's just like a
quite literally
philosopher, or
puts a camera in front of him and just speaks his mind, and it's
okay, is
like
he on YouTube?
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's around the 21, 22, just young guy just speaking, right? And
Okay,
he says if you build if you build a new house with the same bricks, you get the same house.
mm,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And the thing with that is because when we're looking at, like I said, about originality, and then, like I said, moving into a different place, yes, you're going to have the memories of like your old one, but with your new place, it's a new beginning. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And that's what differentiates a house from a home, because when you're going into a new place, you are creating a home, not a house. You know what I mean? A house is
yeah,
just there. You stay there. You wake up, eat, get out, so on. A home is your compass space where you are. And
right,
with architecture and music, especially with architects, you have to know how to create like a, if a client's giving you a design to do for homing, you need to know like what function it serves, not only just for obviously it has a house, but also mentally, and like, like for example, this light over here, it's a warm light, like
yeah,
this is comforting. Do you know what I mean? You need to know it on a deeper extent. Same way how in music, yeah, it could sound nice, but you need to know in a deeper extent of, okay, how does this connects with my audience?
yeah, yeah,
But yeah.
yeah. I think that's what I wanted to what I wanted to talk about is the possibility of architecture having its own underground scene. Do you think that could ever happen? Do you think it's possible? So like the way fashion has like an underground scene for like people that are up and coming, people that can present and preview projects on like a demo scale. Do you think that can happen with architecture?
Mm, I think it's already happening right now as we speak, but I think I think it's moved from the point of being an architect now. Um,
Okay,
in Leighton, there's a place called the Host, right?
the host.
It's the Host. It's an area just like
Okay,
next to Perky Blenders, next to the train station, area where
okay,
people just open up their own little pop up shops, right? In the
okay,
same exact area, right? And thing is, the person who created it, designed the building, like as in the looks and everything, wasn't an architect.
okay.
Yeah. And there's another place. This one I shouldn't be really saying, but you know what? Like, let me just say it. Walthamstow near Monarchs. There's a
Okay,
school
yeah.
called Monarchs College. There's an area a little bit on the left, on the right, small area, completely like abandoned, but there's a lot of structures there just made by like people like me. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like who just designed, like spray painted and designed these areas and like
Yeah.
made these like pillars and stuff, like just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where they do like raves and stuff, like just for partying, do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then like even now, like Like these are like unknown. Do you know what I mean? This is underground. This is like if you wanna say this is underground, this is like underground. Another like underground architecture you could look at is Brick Lane, like the whole markets they have
Okay.
underneath that's
Yeah.
architecture. But
Okay.
the thing is, I think we're past the point now where we can create a building on like, especially in like in Europe, where you can create like these buildings and structures out of like randomly out of nowhere. I think we're past that stage now.
Okay.
So we're at the stage now where we have to work with what we got.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
Okay.
like something to invent something new. You need a lot of building permission. Do you know what I mean?
And space,
And
right?
space and money. And a lot of
Yeah.
architects are broke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's really hard to afford creating these, especially if the architect is creating it for themselves. It's really hard to create something with budgeting and finance. So you work with what
Okay.
you've already got. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. So do you
But
think that's
yeah,
the new do you think that's
yeah.
the underground is I'm gonna transform my room, or I'm gonna transform this art studio that I have, or is it
I mean,
more so that?
you see right now, this is my room, right? But over here, above me, I have a vine tree. This is a real like vine tree that goes around my whole room, right?
Mhm.
Like if I was to tell you, like on the back over there, this in front of me, there's a whole canvas of work. Like I can't really show it, but
Okay.
there's like paintings everywhere over here and here and here,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Can
that's
you
and like
send me pictures?
yeah, I'll send you. I'll definitely send you pictures.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll
Like I
put it.
have
I'll
a
put it up. I'll put it up. Yeah.
yeah, and I have like canvases of work scattered across this whole room, right? Like
Yeah.
that, except for this wall over here. Like over
Okay.
here, I've kept it empty. Wait, am I pointing the right way? No, which way am I pointing? It's so hard to tell. No, this wall over here. Sorry, yeah, this wall here, where it's like it's completely empty, right, with the door being there. But
Okay.
like there
Yeah.
used to be a painting there, but I removed it. I want to add one more there. But this
Okay.
area here has like shelves and like scattered with everything. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's really hard. It's really hard to say. Like yeah, like obviously, if you have your own studio and space, you can create something new. But nowadays, even architects have to work with just what we got. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And
So
yeah,
yeah, because what I'm thinking is at like the early stages,
hmm,
at grassroots level,
yeah,
how can architecture be part of that grassroots? And I'm talking more so about where there's less barriers to entry. So like in fashion, someone can just make like a t-shirts, or they can make clothing that's just at grassroots level, and they can present it to someone
hmm.
directly on a ground level scale, on a
I think
small scale. So
I think
can architecture be can that happen with architecture?
like a smaller scale, like where they can just come in.
Just on a small scale, when they can
Yeah,
present something on a small scale at
yeah, 100%,
grassroots, where
hundred
there's
percent.
instant feedback, maybe.
That's where the issue comes, right? So 100%, that's where the issue comes in, right? So
Okay.
100%, I agree that architects can, like for example, there's always competitions being made where you have to like present a design and like that can be approved and actually be made with other helps of architects, but like it's only if your design gets approved, right?
Right.
But as far as like to be an architect, no matter what, especially in the UK, you need to do all three parts. So you need to have like need to have an undergrads, you need to have a postgrads, and then you need to do the architect exam or whatever they call it, where they review your whole 7 year journey, right?
Okay.
I'm lucky enough where I'm just finishing my part one. Do you know what I mean? So my undergrads,
Yeah.
right? I'm in my final year finishing that, right?
Okay.
But then soon I'm gonna be moving into masters, right? Because
Okay.
that's the goal. I want to do the whole 7 years. But
Yeah.
you
And where
can't
where
call
are
your.
you doing that?
Well, my plan is to do it abroad for
Okay.
masters, but right now I'm doing it in Greenwich, in London, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So my plan is to do it abroad and see the world. Obviously, find a because it depends really, right? I need to find a uni that has like the same qualifications as like the get I get in the UK. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
But when it comes to like for example, Travis saying he wants to be an architect, right?
Yeah.
He can never call himself an architect until this the depends on like where you are. Like if it's in America, like
Yeah.
after masters, yeah, you can call yourself that. But over here, you need to do like 7, 8 years, and then you can call yourself that. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So
Because I know Virgil
even
did
yeah, yeah.
architecture at master's level.
Yeah, so he would be considered an architect in Dubai, in America, I think in America, and then like in other countries, in the UK, he wouldn't be considered that. He would need
Okay.
to do one more
He would
exam.
have had to have done more years, put more years in.
I think one more year of like doing an exam, like a critical analysis of his whole work, and then you should
Okay.
be there. But sorry, but when it comes to like, I'm having a horrible sneeze. But when it comes to people like Travis, if he does do the,
Yeah.
for example, I can't call myself an architect right now. Do you know what
Okay.
I mean? Even if I finish my undergrads with a first, I can't call myself
Yeah.
an architect.
Okay.
I can't call
What do
myself
you
an
call yourself
architect.
then?
An
What do you call yourself?
architectural assistant, a part one.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like I can't. There has to be a different term because an architect legally, I can't call myself an architect because legally that means I can do building planning, building. I can allow certain designs to go through and off. That's the reason why I can't call myself an architect because then
Okay.
being called an architect means you have that much power. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
Like it's perfect if you want to be a husband because then if you want to like increase your house or whatever, you don't need to go to someone else. You just do it yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Perfect for that. But when it comes to like long term wise, it does take. It's like I said. This is a passion. Do you know what I mean? I
Right.
mean, you do it because it's not for the money. Like we all know, like in UK, architecture and money just don't get along. You have to go somewhere else
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
over here, a lot of people do it because they love what they do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's more than just earning a few extra. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
It's doing work that I guess is fulfilling, right?
of course,
That's meaningful.
fulfillment. Yeah,
Yeah.
because for me, like when I create something, the most beautiful thing is that it's in front of me. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it's like I'm just looking around like something to showcase, but let me show you what I mean. Like this is something I 3D printed right recently, which was this right,
Okay.
right. So
Okay.
I it's
What's
very
that?
it's really simple. So plus 92 is
Yeah.
the international code for my place where I'm from, Pakistan.
Okay. Okay.
And
Yeah.
so this area here, the hangar of it is, I won't be able to hear you for 1 second, but
Okay.
this would go over here like that. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
So it'll be a hanger. It'll be a hanger for my headphones. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
You know what I mean? And this is nothing to do with architecture when it comes to building and the relation of creating a building. But
Okay. But
this is
wouldn't you
why,
put that in the building, right?
yeah, you would put
You
this in
put
the
that
building, but
inside
this
of.
is what yeah, this is what you get from studying like 1 year of architecture. You learn how to 3D print materials. You learn like
Yeah.
different knowledge to like UK to showcase and use other than just creating a building. Do you know what I mean? That's the good aspect of architecture that
Yeah.
you get to learn more than what you actually need to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It goes past the point of being owning a building or making a building. It becomes more than just making a house. It creates a
Yeah.
home in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And how much are architects getting inspiration from other areas? Because I remember, so there's a designer called Stephen Smith. Are you familiar? Stephen Smith.
Steven
He works
Smith.
with Kanye at Yeezy, but he used to work at like
Yeah.
New
Yeah. Yeah.
Balance back in like the 80s, I think. But he said
Yeah.
that. Do you remember the dome houses that Kanye was making?
The dome house. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they were very like Star Wars inspired dome houses for like
yeah.
I guess
It was
people that
the
had
planet that the
from
Star Wars
for
created.
exactly, yeah, for like low
Yeah,
income people from low income housing. But he was
yeah.
saying that like he would get inspiration like the fashion team would get inspiration from the domes
Hmm.
houses, and then people that were working on the dome houses were getting inspiration from like the shoes that he was wearing. So it was
Yeah.
like cross section inspiration, getting
Hmm.
inspiration from different. So how open are like architects to getting inspiration from other industries, so like from
I mean,
fashion or from
I mean,
movies or design or
there's a. I mean,
sports?
Drake took inspiration from an architect called James, not an architect, but a designer called James Turrell.
Oh, okay, yeah, he does lighting, right?
Yeah, the lighting, yeah, and you know,
Yeah,
Hotline Bling. It's
Hotline
all like
Bling.
it's
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It was taken by James Turrell, and
Okay.
like like basically what people think it's a rip off. I mean, this is an article by the Guardian, but you know how heavy they could be on like criticism. Like they literally just say Drake has ripped off like James Turrell, but actual reality is that it's inspiration. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with architects, right? We have to take inspiration from everyone, not just musicians, not just like what you call it, not just engineers or anyone who does creative fields. It could be done from a poet, a philosopher. Like thing with architecture right now, especially in first years, you have to know what the purpose of your building is. There's a quote that goes for. There's a quote done by I think Lewis Sullivan, where he says, "Form follows function."
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And basically, this quote is basically like one of like the more interesting quotes because that's basically describing every single building created in the 20th century.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? The 19th and 20th century, this is basically what it means because form is the design of the building, follows is the form comes before function, and function the use of the object. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the three F's. So you
So
have
what's
to
the three
essentially
F's?
form follows function.
Form follows function.
Function.
Okay.
So the design of the building is before the use of the object.
Okay. Okay.
You know what I mean? And essentially that basically means is that you firstly before you chase the aesthetic of what something looks like, you need to know what its purpose is or what it's being done. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And like you said, like this is like how Kanye takes inspiration from different architects and designers, and like vice versa, how the architect takes inspiration from Kanye.
Yeah.
You have the same intention or same intended needs when it comes to architects. We have to take inspiration from other genres.
From other.
We can't just look at a building and be like, okay, that building looks similar to this building, so I'll create this. We also need to look at the person behind it, the philosophy
Right.
of it, why some rooms are so empty and other rooms are so crowded. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Would
This
I
is
know any
important.
examples though?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, you know more examples?
I think I have no. I think that's literally I've named so many architects.
Oh, okay.
I think I got one more example. I think what's his name? What's his name? I was just doing it. Because like I said, Paxton. Paxton isn't an
Okay.
architect, but he created the botanic gardens and all this structures that an architect should be creating. Do you know what I mean? Because it's
Okay.
glass and materials. But yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I think I've said what I had to. Yeah, form
Yeah.
follows function. You have to. You can't. You have a house, but to have a house, no, to have a home, you need a house first. Do you know what I mean? And people follow in
Yeah.
after and settle in after. Do you know what I mean?
You can build on top of the house to create the home, but you need
Exactly.
to have
Yeah.
the foundation of the house first, and then you can
Exactly.
fill it up.
Yeah,
Yeah, this has been an amazing conversation, man.
yeah, man. It was
This has
amazing,
been an
honestly.
amazing conversation. I knew it was gonna be great though. I knew it was gonna be great based on a
Yeah,
conversation we had when we met our Muslim
uh,
partners. But yeah, this has been
yeah.
really
It
good.
took a while though.
Um,
Sorry about that. Yeah, like I said,
oh, that's all right. That's all right.
yeah.
That's all right.
I keep getting with architecture. You just keep getting hit with work after work after
Yeah,
work. So,
yeah,
they don't let you go. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. All right. Um, please send over like any links that
of
we
course.
based on anything we've spoken on and images of like your place as well, like what you
Yeah, of
talked about,
course,
the stuff that I couldn't see.
of
I'm gonna
course,
add
of course.
everything in. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it. These are all links I'm sending, but they should just be.
Okay.
I've saved them on thing. But yeah,
Okay.
it was nice. It was honestly nice talking to you. Like I said,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
grateful for having this experience. This is my first time doing something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, like usually
Yeah.
the talks we have are they're always in a crypt on like a presentation form. So
Okay.
it's just one of those where it's like it's nice to have like a conversation other than just create a building, follows it, so on. Like
Yeah.
there's more to it than just
Yeah. Yeah.
you know a square or four walls. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. This is the side that makes architecture like um easily digestible. It translates it to like the everyday person. You
Yeah,
know, I feel like architects have their own language. The everyday person has their own language.
yeah,
So it's like these type of conversations help people, the everyday person, kind of okay. I can digest certain things,
yeah, yeah. I
certain
agree. Yeah,
principles.
100%.